Okay, so here's the example of masking I wanted to show you. This picture, what you can see is it's washed out a little bit, and a good way to bring out the focus of the structure is to darken the sky. So what we'd want to do is we'd want to mask the sky out so that we can just darken the sky and leave everything else alone. Now with Adobe there's many different ways to do it. This is Adobe, and so I wanted to show you kind of how you would do it in there. What I wanted to talk about was this kind of masking philosophy that you see a lot. It has a lot to do with not being destructive to your image and that sort of thing, but it's kind of almost, I don't know, there's a use for it of course, but it almost seems like it's pedantic to some extent, or can be, because it's overkill in a lot of cases to just meticulously mask something out. For instance, in a lot of books, what you'll see is if you decide you want to mask out the sky, what they'll suggest is that you do something along these lines. You either use the lasso tool or the polygon tool, and then what you can do is you can essentially create a mask and mask out the sky. And like I said, you see this in a lot of books, where in some cases, of course, it's good to want to do this, and then you just you continue to do it for the image. Right here, I'm obviously having trouble with it, or whatever. Another way to do, and then so the idea is that if you do this throughout the whole skyline, you can do that. But let's just say we're you can see it gets to be a little bit difficult, especially if it goes off the screen, but other people are better at Adobe and can handle that. But the basic thing is that if you then invert the mask, and then you feather the mask by I don't know, 10 pixels or so, or that sort of thing, and then you apply a curve. Normally you might want to do this with a new layer, but I'm just doing this for example purposes. But you can see that the sky starts to darken, and if I were to do the whole image, you can see that basically, if I hide the mask, that it looks pretty decent around. Here, let me zoom in. That way it looks more like it was just a mask. That it looks pretty decent around around the area, and it's really just at the skyline, kind of leaving everything else alone and darkening the skyline. And that's one way to do it. But you can also see it's taking the edge of the trees away, like right by the structure where you see the bushes and stuff. It's darkening those trees and that sort of thing. So that's one way to do it. And a lot of times it's the prescribed way to do things, and you can be much more accurate, but to be more accurate it takes a lot more time. Now what you also have is you have the wand tool, where you just click on the image, and then you can set the threshold, or what they call tolerance, and then what you can do is you can apply a curve. Now you can see that it's pretty decent, and that if you zoom in, you still have a few edge problems overall, and you can see right here it didn't get this, so I'm going to have to do this twice, and then move that in there. And then I also have a problem that we have in any masking environment, and so you can see the edges of the houses. It left part of the sky there, and so it's something you have to play with. And see, up here it didn't get the sky, and so really the best way to do this is I need to do this as a layer, and then just continually add to the mask and that sort of thing. And then I also take the chance that somewhere in the picture that it masks something blue, like if there's a blue car or something else that's blue, or like we saw on the little steeple of the window there, it didn't get the skyline through there. But overall, it's again, what I need to do is to continually play with the mask to really get this correct. So if I want to do this, I can do this. So this time I got it for some reason, and then what I need to do is to do a shift click to get that part, and then since it didn't get this skyline correctly in here. I can adjust the tolerance, but it's gonna, if I do that just for this skyline, it's gonna bleed over into other areas. So I can click on this to kind of get in there a little bit more. Or another thing that I can do, and so you can see it takes a while, but you can get it. And like I said, if there's something else in the foreground, I would just have to erase that part of the mask. There's also color range that you can do, where you can click on this, on the sky, for example, and then it'll show you what it's doing. This is more akin to what we do, and then so you can see that after a while it starts to get into certain areas that you don't want. And so what you can do is you can just do the skyline, or hit the sky, and then it'll, and then now if we do this, for this particular picture, this is probably the best method, and then you can adjust the curve, and then there you go. And then if you zoom in, see it got the window area, and so forth. And so it did a pretty good job. So even in Adobe, you know, that kind of masking with the lasso tool, you know, doesn't make a lot of sense in many cases. And in this particular case, if there was something blue in the foreground, we you know, that wasn't this guy, we could have gotten rid of it. And so that shows right there, you know, what sort of things you can do in Adobe. So that's one example. So now what I want to do is I want to go to Lightbox and do the same thing. I've already been playing with it. And so here, let me, gosh, hold on just a second. I'm going to fix something and then get right back.